I'm ranking the smartest characters in my favorite movies and shows. I will only choose the smartest characters to rank from each of these shows. The characters who make this list will have their intelligence as part of their character. Wisdom doesn't really count as intelligence in this list. Only relevant characters to each respective narrative will be considered. For example, The Office is based in our reality, where people like Albert Einstein have existed, but Einstein isn't a part of The Office's story, so only characters relevant to the story can be ranked. So the main metric I'll use to compare these characters is by how far ahead of the competition they are in their respective universes. For example, Stewie Griffin is leagues smarter than the next most intelligent person in the Family Guy universe. Obviously, there's an element of speculation in this, and I'm gonna say you friggin' drop your friggin' opinion in the comment, bruh. Dwight Schrute, The Office. Dwight Schrute scores pretty low on the emotional IQ scale. He's constantly finding the most insensitive thing to say at a given time.
I missed the meeting where we all voted for you to get pregnant.
By the time the show concludes, however, Dwight's intelligent decisions earned him a position of regional manager at Dunder Mifflin. He also is the owner of multiple acres of Pennsylvania farmland, and he becomes so financially successful that he purchases the very building he works out of. Dwight's inclination to consistent smart financial choices in an unpredictable late 2000s American economy earns him the 15th spot on this list. Velma, Scooby-Doo! Velma is the most intelligent member of the mystery-solving company, which travels the country solving mysteries with a 100% success rate, as far as I know. Unfortunately for Velma, in all of the gang's adventures, at least one of the members of the gang will unearth a clue which Velma would not have discovered on her own. Velma's reliance on an otherwise clumsy group of individuals is a crutch on her intelligence, and the reason she's hindered from a higher rank on this list. 14th place for Velma. Ron Swanson, Parks and Rec.
The government is a greedy piglet that suckles on a taxpayer's teat until they have sore, chapped nipples.
Ron Swanson is based.
Don't sass me, Burkus.
Ron Swanson is a member of the most pro-freedom political party, the Libertarians.
Life, liberty, and property. John Locke.
When the show concludes, Ron has an incredible amount of wealth and secret gold.
An estate of this size means that your children would never have to work a day in their lives.
Ron Swanson earns the 13th spot on this list for financial and political genius.
Capitalism, God's way of determining who is smart and who is poor.
Batman, broader DC universe.
Batman.
This section is going to anger all the whiny DC fans.
Oh, look at me! I get my armor from Forever 21!
I don't care much for Batman. In the new whiny teenager Batman, we see Batman take on a more of a detective role as he channels his inner Scooby-Doo to track down the ghoul who was flooding the soccer game, or something. There is something to be said for his impressive inventions and critical thinking skills. No one from the DC universe matches his combined intelligence in these areas. Genos, One Punch Man. Genos is a 19-year-old cyborg on a quest to find the cyborg that destroyed his hometown. In his relentless pursuit for this cyborg, he knows that he must become powerful to overthrow his adversary. Thus, he never shies away from a battle. When he often loses a fight, he considers it an opportunity to learn and upgrade his armor. When his life is saved by Master Saitama in Season 1, Episode 2, he observes the greatest display of power imaginable. Genos immediately, and somewhat against Saitama's wishes, devotes himself to discipleship of Saitama. Genos' already impressive decision-making and test scores earn him a lofty spot on this list. 11th spot for Genos.
Hermione! Harry Potter!
Harry, no way.
The smartest person in the Harry Potter universe isn't a question that's up for debate.
What an idiot.
It's Hermione. As she exists for the majority of this series, most of the professors and more experienced wizards would doubtless be considered more knowledgeable than she.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Hermione is utterly passionate about learning, so much so that she finesses the do-over watch from Pair of Kings and goes back in time to learn more knowledge. Memorization of information is not the same as learning. Straight A students follow instructions in school like life or death. Then when given a problem without instructions to find the solution, these students' brains crumble. Hermione has that unfortunate rigidity, but her drive cannot go unnoticed, and Hermione gets the 10 spot.
Spock! Star Trek!
Spock is a Vulcan. You may know Vulcans by their strict adherence to logical thinking in any realm of decision making. Their people are in actuality a very emotional people.
In the face of extinction, it is only logical I resign my Starfleet commission and help rebuild our race.
But in their years of experience, they've deduced that logic is the most beneficial device that can be used in decision making. This raises the question, however, is emotionally thinking in all cases second class to logical thinking? After all, it would be illogical to discard the emotional effect a decision might have on someone.
In this case, do yourself a favor. Put aside logic Do what feels right.
Spock is easily the smartest character among the essential Star Trek lore, deserving of the 9th spot on this list.
Since my customary farewell would appear oddly self-serving, I shall simply say, good luck.
Who in the primary 9 Star Wars movies stands out as particularly intelligent? For starters, there are only 2 characters that make an appearance in all 9 movies. R2-D2 and C-3PO. But C-3PO performs unworldly mathematical calculations in mere seconds.
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
He gathers data from past treks through asteroid system, adds the impending danger of being chased by multiple adversaries, and subtracts Han Solo's above average piloting abilities, all culminating to an equation which he solved in a microscopic amount of time and delivered to Han Solo just to have Han completely ignore the odds and do whatever he wants. C-3PO is walked over to a degree only rivaled by Toby from The Office, but to ignore his superhuman calculating abilities would be horribly ignorant. C-3PO sits in a well-deserved 8th place on this list. Sauron, Lord of the Rings, bruh. I spent 10 minutes writing about how Galadriel was the smartest being in the relevant Lord of the Rings universe when it dawned on me that Sauron met the same criteria. Gandalf is of the same race, the Maiar, as Sauron. He is immortal and has existed since Eru Ilúvatar created the world, but has dwelt in Middle-earth for only the duration of the Third Age, roughly a third of all recorded time up to the conclusion of the Return of the King. Sauron had been a troublemaker since the very beginning of the First Age. He was the right-hand man of the second most powerful being in existence, Melkor, or Morgoth. He learned from his master's successes and failures, and his spirit endured long after Morgoth's demise. While his spirit could still take on the form of a man, he manipulated some of the oldest and wisest elves into forging his rings of power. His cunning persuasion led the kingdom of Númenor to spell their own doom when men led an attempted expedition into Valinor, only for the one above all to swallow up this island with a mighty wave. Sauron is as evil as he is smart. Sauron sits upon a dark, terrible throne in the 7th spot on this list. L. Death Note. L edges out his rival in this universe, Leita, by a slim but definitive margin. He's at a perpetual disadvantage to Light, as he carries the ultimate weapon in the Death Note. L was on track to discover Kira's identity, and on an equal playing field with Leita, I imagine he would defeat him in a battle of wits 9 times out of 10. In this scene, it's somewhat implied that he knew Leita was Kira, and knew that he was about to die, but lacked the evidence to prove it. L's critical thinking could only be rivaled by the likes of the mightiest detectives in fiction, like Sherlock Holmes. L outsmarts the competition into the 6th place on this list. Sherlock Holmes. Speaking of Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock Holmes! Holmes is to fictitious detectives what Superman is to superheroes. Supreme. Sherlock Holmes invented the art of the big reveal. In his on-screen adaptations, such as Game of Shadows, he allows his opponent to think he is winning, only to reveal he knew everything already and made countermeasures against them. His big reveals are arrogantly satisfying, like forcing your opponent to wait whilst adding to your advantage before checkmating him. His game of chess in Game of Shadows is based off of a real game of chess from the same time period. He finds the best possible move to make in any given situation and anticipates the best possible move for his opponent to make. The GOAT of detectives finds his way to the 5th spot on this list. The Brain. Pinky and the Brain. Pinky and the Brain is an episodic emotional epic about the lives of 2 lab mice whose genes have been spliced, making them intelligent. The Brain is bent on world domination and makes this activity their nightly pastime. He invents machines and gadgets. In this highly emotional episode, he finds that it is his fault, not the fault of his smooth-braided companion, that their schemes are eternally unsuccessful. On one Christmas morn, he in fact nearly achieved world domination, as he has the entire world hypnotized by his dolls.
Ladies and gentlemen of the world, you will do as I say, for I command you to have a Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a Merry Christmas.
But overwhelmed by the spirit of Christmas, he wished the world a Merry Christmas instead. Few fictitious characters are as smart as the Brain, and none get in their own way more than the Brain. 4th place for the Brain. Rick and Morty! Were this video made after season 3 of Rick and Morty, there would be no question as to Rick's supremacy in this list. But season 6 of Rick and Morty explained that the show's protagonist, Rick C-137, was in fact not the smartest being in the universe.
I can tell you expect me to refute that, but it's right on the money.
One comment reminded me that even these weird dinosaurs were probably smarter than Rick. And Rick Prime has evaded and outsmarted C-137 apparently for their entire lives. Rick Prime being slightly smarter than C-137 means he also would have easily been capable of achieving the most impressive feats of C-137's accomplishments. As impressive as Rick's technological achievements are, two characters have displayed more impressive feats. Rick Prime takes the 3 spot. Stewie Griffin, Family Guy.
You infantile, stupid...
Like Rick, he invented interdimensional and time travel. The difference? He did this as a baby. He has the foresight to keep his evil ambition in check as well. In season 6, episodes 5 and 6, Stewie played out in a simulation what would happen if he murdered Lois.
Did you kill Lois? Of course I didn't, Brian. I wouldn't possibly go through with it. I've really screwed myself up here.
And it didn't play out well for him, so he refrained from such. Two characters have come close to approaching Stewie's genius, Penelope and Bertram. Both of these babies were similarly brilliant inventors of weapons of mass destruction. However, whilst Rick's intelligence was undermined by Rick Prime and the dinosaurs, Stewie would vanquish both of these enemies in the course of one episode. Stewie's intellect is unmatched in the history of Family Guy characters, and he earns the number 2 spot. Jimmy Neutron! The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron! Boy genius.
Try being 11 years old and being the smartest human being to ever live!
Alright, let me explain, babies.
Or I'll have Goddard here bite your balls.
I know this is hard for you to get your mind around. Jimmy Neutron is a super genius at a young age, like Stewie. He's an inventor, but hasn't invented anything on par with Rick's portal gun. Jimmy Neutron, however, has literally mastered space itself. The most impressive invention being that he was able to travel about space without more than a t-shirt and shorts and no helmet. He understands it so well that he actually explains it to the well-known idiot and my favorite character, Sheen.
How come whenever we're in outer space, we don't gotta wear helmets?
Good question, Sheen. And the answer is quite interesting. You see...
Sheen seems to totally grasp the concept, and the audience would understand as well had Carl not been singing. We see Rick has developed space travel, but Jimmy Neutron has evolved the process so well that he can leisurely journey into space with zero preparation. On his adventures, he will meet aliens like the ones that kidnapped all the parents of the world, and the aliens' technology is impressive, but their decision-making is nothing compared to Jimmy's. Neutron was only ever deterred by his own self-consciousness of his own disproportionate body. Jimmy Neutron is so far ahead of anyone else in his reality that he has to take the number 1 spot on this list. Obviously, you disagreed with me somewhere in this video, so drop your ranking in the comments and you let me know why I'm wrong. And now go away.